Good day to the universe. It's the month of September, a time in when St. Kitts and Nevis celebrates its independence. And we've had the privilege and honor of speaking to one of the top young footballers from St. Kitts and Nevis, an icon in his own right. Somebody who would have played from the youth level right up to the professional level in the United States of America. Somebody who would have transformed and cleared his pathway and decided that he was going to give back, and not only give back, but get involved in the administration of sports. This is a young man that I have known from primary school days who also played some cricket and also played some football. And the late Elvis Star Brown is a name that will ring a bell for a very long time. We also would want to talk to another gentleman, the Keatley Shepherd tournament, which was held in Antigua and Barbuda, and you had the likes of people like Mervyn Richards and company who would have come to the ranks of assisting Atiba Harris. So too would have been Keith Kayamba Gums, Clinton Tini Percival, Elvis Pepper Isaac, the list is long. But my host this morning and my co-host in Cal Blankendal, we feel very honored to have our icon on Football Insight, a program that we've launched to be able to unearth all of the heroes, both male and female, around the world. Today we welcome our special guest, Atiba Harris. Good day, Mr. President.
Good day, sir. It's a pleasure to be on your show. Looking forward to a great conversation.
Cal?
Yes, good morning, President Harris. You remind me of myself when I first got into sports administration. Young man, you are 36 years of age, wonderful family, wonderful career. And I never reached your heights on the field, so I would never say I was similar to you. But I am very proud of you before we get into the actual question and answer period, that you have taken your professional career, but you have gone back to make sure that those who are behind you can achieve your heights or even higher heights. So back to my good friend and co-host, Mr. Springer.
Let's hit the crossbar running, Atiba Harris. Congratulations on being elected as president of the Skitts-Nevis Football Association, a heights that many persons questioned, but you prepared yourself for this journey, and you're the first player from St. Kitts and Nevis, first professional player to become a football administrator. What is it feeling like? Tell me what the mood is like. Have you settled into your new role? You're not now playing, but you're now an administrator. How is that feeling?
Well, first I must say thank you to the Most High for giving me life, health, and strength. My family, who's always been supportive, from my mother, my sisters, my brother, my father, my wife and children, and the whole of St. Peter's community, as well as St. Kitts and Nevis on a whole, and the further, like in the Caribbean, where many of my colleagues, etc., reached out to me in support going forward. So this journey started a while back. I'll go all the way back to my grassroots days. I have to give a lot of credit to Elvis Star Brown, rest in peace, Elvis Pepper Isaac, those two were very instrumental in my upbringing in terms of football. Yourself, Gishad, when it came to cricket. I'm humble. I'm humble to be able to achieve the presidency at this age, at 36, the youngest ever to do it in St. Kitts and Nevis. But I have to thank my teammates on this one. I would say my colleagues who formulate this slate to help and bought into the vision and supported me on this journey. So I want to thank them. So Springer, I decided to cut my professional playing career short. I actually had a guaranteed contract until the end of this year. And I decided to go into the administrators back in Oklahoma Energy FC. And I told them straight that I wanted to go back home. I wanted to serve my people. I wanted to give back. So we decided to come to a mutual agreement, and I decided to come back home and contribute. Reaching out to the clubs were excited. People in St. Kitts and Nevis were excited. So I decided to give it a go. I came over here 3 months prior to the election. So I've spent 3 months away from my family, my wife and children who are back in the US. So to to continue campaigning in order for this to happen. And so it happened, and now I'm looking forward to working and progressing and building St. Kitts-Nevis football, raising the standard over here so that way everybody can be happy again.
Now let's talk about raising the standard. What is Atiba Harris and his team going to bring in terms of the vision of taking St. Kitts-Nevis football? And it's going to take a pathway, because we tend to have a microwave mentality in the Caribbean. We want everything now. So Atiba gets elected, and people think that St. Kitts-Nevis, both men and women, supposed to be winning straight away. But there's a lot of work that you have to get done. You can't be able to just illustrate on a short-term basis. What's your objective of your management as you look to be able to conclude? One would be to start back the league. Two, you got a women's program which is going to be active, and you want to get going. Just give me a small window in terms of the small pathway going forward for your administration.
Well, I think it's bigger than just the on-field part of it. We're trying to change the mentality, the overall mentality of the way people see football and think about football, because football is a big business. And I think I like to use personal experience, because when I started on this journey of becoming a professional footballer first, many people thought that it was impossible coming from such a small federation. And I was able to prove them wrong in achieving that feat by becoming a young professional footballer as a teenager. So going into this administrative part of it now was another challenge again, where people are saying, man, he's too young, he doesn't have experience. But what we're trying to do upon being elected now is to professionalize the whole setup. Not necessarily mean professionalizing in players getting full-time professional salaries, etc., but office structure. We need to ensure that we have a friendly front office. The home of football should definitely be a friendly place where everybody can come in and feel welcome and know that, yes, St. Kitts-Nevis football is moving in the right direction in that aspect. So professionalize the administrative part of it, the structure. We have to see this like we're building a house, or the foundation. So we have to go back to youth development. We have to ensure that we have continuous youth programs going forward. So we no longer would be planning a month or two ahead, preparing for a big tournament. We'll be preparing years in advance. So I know the tenure is a 4-year period, but I'm looking at this as a long-term project. So changing the mentality so we can prepare going forward. So let's look at 2026, for example, the World Cup expansion. US, Canada, Mexico are hosts. So there's a possibility with more countries from CONCACAF going to be able to qualify for that World Cup. So that's something I'm definitely keeping my eye on. So we definitely going to need to improve on the technical staff, have more full-time personnel, working coaches, etc., working with different groups, so that way we can have some sort of continuity. In terms of the leagues, yes, we're in COVID time, so it's a little bit trickier, so to speak. In St. Kitts-Nevis currently, we noticed that the cases have been rising. So we decided to postpone the league until we have discussion with the CMO, the task force, and the clubs, so that way we can make a decision on the best way forward, whether to continue this season or to come up with different options.
What has the transition been like from the last administration to your new administration? And tell us a little bit more about your new general secretary. Again, you're creating history. First time in St. Kitts-Nevis that you have a female who is now going to be empowered to be the general secretary of the St. Kitts-Nevis Football Association. And as we would say, woman empowerment. Atiba Harris, you check your slate, you would have had at least 3 ladies on your slate. Now you have a general secretary. Woman powers, they would say. Tell us a little bit about the transition from the past Anthony Johnson administration over to your administration.
Well, I think some of the things I have to give credit to Mr. Anthony Johnson for doing his best, and he spent 12 years with his executive, moving St. Kitts-Nevis football forward. However, what I've noticed from the offset, it's been 2 weeks now, is that there was no clear role and responsibility within the office. So personnel weren't being held accountable. So you don't know who's supposed to be dealing with what, or who should be doing certain things. So everybody was just doing their own thing. So now we're trying to create a structure that way. That way, when it comes to, let's say, equipment manager, he know that he's in charge of the uniforms, etc. So if something's off, then we can now point at him or her, saying, "Hey, what happened here?" You know, these are little things that we need to clean up, and not necessarily mean changing personnel, but just changing the mentality and the way we do things. In terms of Miss Tichelle McLean is, for me, having her as a general secretary. First, forget that she's a woman. She's very professional. She's very efficient. She's very effective. And I think as time go by, people would realize how organized she is, how professional she is. And I think she has the potential of even going on to greater things, not just the general secretary of St. Kitts-Nevis, but she has the ability to be a major player within CFU, CONCACAF, and FIFA. And I strongly believe that she'll make us proud, and she'll ensure that this office administration, the office staff, etc., operate professionally going forward. So I'm excited for that. She's a female, and she's the first female to do it. And you know, my family is filled with all females. I'm outnumbered, so that's a plus. So when the young ladies in St. Kitts and Nevis and the Caribbean see females in top position, now they can aspire to do even better.
Broaden your scope a little bit about your team, because it's a team mixed with youth and experience. And as you rightly said, you made sure that you have involvement of ladies who bring a business acumen. And in the business of sports right now, you need all hands on deck. Tell us a little bit about your team.
Yeah, so I started about 2 years ago, reaching out to many of the members on my slate that makes up the executive. I have to give credit to Mr. Carlton Pinney as well. Even though he wasn't originally on our slate, he's committed himself to move St. Kitts and Nevis football forward. He's committed to football. Miss Arlene Morris, I think she's related to yourself, Mr. Springer. So I think that's in itself her professionalism, her hands-on approach was very it attracted me to her. The way she wants to go about doing things in a professional manner means a lot. Coming from living in the rural area as well, that's going to bring added value and added representation in that area. Mr. John Bergen, inspector, he's been a past administrator, and everybody knows he's strict, he's professional, he's an officer, so you know the legal standpoint, the security aspect of it, he'll be able to handle that. The discipline, which I think we need in football, he'll be able to oversee that aspect of things. When you look at Mr. Ken Queeley, he's another experienced personnel within our group. He's an executive member. He's the current president of Village Superstars. I think he'll be able to contribute based on his experience. Mr. Phil Cooper, he's from DFA. He's one of the young guns as well. He's about 30. He's 34 years old. He's the manager at DFA Eagles Football Club. This one is I think it caught a lot of people by surprise. Why Phil Cooper? When you think of the Capistia area in St. Kitts and Nevis, many people only think about St. Paul's. So having someone from another town in the Capistia area, as one of the smallest in that region, to have a representative in the National Football Association means a lot, and that's going to help motivate the youth in the area and help them to realize that, man, not because I'm from this area doesn't mean I can't achieve greater things. When I'm going on to my VPs, as Sean White, Sean and I go way back. We were actually classmates. We first met when we were in the primary school finals, St. Peter's Primary School versus Newtown Primary School. We beat them. I always tell him that. We beat them 3-1, and I must say that to win the final match. But ever since we went to Bastia Junior High School, we were in the same class. We were always talking about football, naming all the stadiums in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, in the Caribbean, in America. We knew all the players them in world football, and to see us reach this height, it's something that we dreamt of, and we were able to move St. Kitts-Nevis football forward together. Mr. Cuthbert Keynes, who's the president of Old Road, he's the elected second vice president. And if you see the transformation of Old Road United Jets by having them as one of the most visible clubs now in St. Kitts and Nevis, within 2 years, he was able to do that. So seeing his potential, seeing what he has done, and his administrative skill, experience within the Department of Sports, I think he's going to be able to contribute a lot to St. Kitts and Nevis football. Then we had Miss Patricia Claxton, who's a business lady within Nevis. She's a member of Bat United, so having that strong representation over there. She's also a match coordinator already within the SKNFA, so she'll be able to contribute and have that representation within Nevis. Because I don't know if you know Mr. Springer and Cal, my family background, my mom's from Nevis, my grandmother, they are from Nevis, so Nevis is dear to me. So we're looking forward to doing a lot more in Nevis, so that way they can fully feel a part of the overall national product and be inclusive as well.
When your body is challenged, it burns fuel and energy. Respond to every challenge with Altitude Sports Drink. It replenishes, restores, and prepares you for the next level. Altitude is uniquely formulated with an electrolyte blend and magnesia available in fruit punch, blue frost, and grape. Altitude. Raise your game.
Dem Sports is an innovative sports equipment manufacturer specialising in the production of high-quality sports nets and cages for clubs, universities and schools. The development of the Dem Sports concertina cage, either as a single or double-width sports net, has helped schools in inner-city areas where space is a premium to include sports such as cricket and tennis in their curriculum in a safe and enjoyable way.
The nets were developed really for when we had schools with a problem space, so it could be used in limited areas. It folds back to the wall to a minimum of 515 millimetres and pulls out to 8 metres just over.
This sort of equipment is exactly the solution that many head teachers will look to use. It is space saving, it is easy to operate, it is relatively low cost, and again the impact of having provision within the school grounds is a real plus point.
Dem Sports are the world leaders in sports nets for schools. They have a range of net sizes to suit all spaces and can custom build whatever you require. For more information on how we can help you transform your play space at school safely, quickly and affordably, contact Dem Sports for details.
I don't want to press you, but you've only now just got into office. So the next time that we have you on Football Insight, we'll be able to broaden the scope a little bit more about appointments of coaches and whether you'll have a new technical director, whether you'll break up that for women's football. I will leave that area behind for a little bit, but I just wanted to talk about.
Springer, sorry, but I cannot leave without mentioning Mr. Dr. Javin Blanchett, who is the youngest executive member in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association. He's only 29 years old, so he actually still a player, and was able to achieve this feat as becoming the youngest executive member. I'm not sure if he's the youngest executive member in the world, but I know for sure in St. Kitts-Nevis. And for him to achieve a doctor, he's a doctor, medical doctor in this, and then a few weeks later become an executive member as a footballer, a present footballer. That's something I think many people, many of his peers would really be appreciative, and he'll be able to represent from a player standpoint going forward.
Well, you're talking about Javier Blanchett. You know, you want us to give credit to his mom, Hilary, and to his dad, Andy, and to his sister. So you know that's a sporting background, and you can't expect anything else better from the Blanchett family. So that goes without saying. That's almost like an understatement. And it's a wonderful team, like I said, a team now which can be able to drive the process forward for other young people to step up and say, it's now my time to be able to step into the role of administration. And gone are the days, Atiba, when people will be telling you, and we heard throughout the campaign, you know, why Atiba? What has Atiba done for St. Kitts-Nevis football? But the thing about it is that you never blew your trumpet. You were doing so much things for your community and for St. Kitts-Nevis football. I know that. And so I don't have to try to come now to tell people how many balls you sent home, how many school bags you sent home, how many boots you sent home. Because these days, everybody who wants to do something have to go on social media. Atiba Harris never demonstrated those skills. You just always executed and you prepared your pathway. And my brother, I want to wish you all the best. Prayers are with you. And like I said, between Calvin Blankendal and myself and our platform, Football Insight, you have what we would call a platform to be able to get your message out. I know you're going to have other platforms, but we are here to be able to promote football in the Caribbean. You also join another young administrator in Anguilla, Gordon Connor, who also played football and is the president of the Anguilla Football Federation, and so many other young footballers who now emulate both you guys to realize that, hey, there's life after the sport, and the sports need young administrators. Cal, it's crossbar time. We're talking to Atiba Harris, and I know you've got a couple of questions that you want to bounce off quickly with Atiba.
Definitely, President Harris. Amazing story thus far. You, having played in the MLS, everything in the United States is big, better, stronger, and Mr. Springer said social media. So what it is that you're bringing from the North American side of football or soccer directly into the St. Kitts-Nevis Football Association? What can you do immediately? Well,
definitely the visibility. If you were following our campaign, you notice that this is one of the cleanest, if not the cleanest campaign ever in St. Kitts-Nevis, if not the Caribbean. We chose not to engage in any bad publicity, any back and forth. We just wanted to get our message out there. You notice the full slate. We kept on promoting the full slate. We kept on promoting our vision for St. Kitts-Nevis football. So now that we've been elected, now we want to push St. Kitts-Nevis football and ensure that St. Kitts-Nevis football has various platforms and able to reach the wider footballing world. Our diaspora, that people in the diaspora community, they want to be connected to home. So we're gonna ensure that they're able to connect, whether social media or other platforms, so that way our football family can be close knit and continue to grow.
Now, you have a great network, not only in St. Kitts-Nevis and in the Caribbean, but in North America. Now that you're the president, do you think you can call on your former players, coaches, anyone that you've had contact with in and outside all around the world to come and give you any support you need?
Yes, definitely. I always say that's the easy part. The hardest part is the preparation. We need to prepare our footballers to ensure that they're ready when these opportunities come up. The opportunities are there, no doubt about it. The opportunities are not difficult, because I can easily pick up the phone and call one of my past coaches, teammates, etc., who most of them are now moving into the administrative side of things. Also, some of them are agents. Some of them are head coaches currently. I don't know if you've seen some of the endorsement videos, but those are active people within football, the football fraternity, all around the world. Most of them might be in North America, but if you're seeing like Mohamed Kalon, who's over in Sierra Leone, and Kai Kamara, who's the one who just scored the winning goal for Sierra Leone as well to go to the African Cup of Nations. Those are persons who I'm well connected to, have close relationship with, and looking forward to. Even one day, one of my vision is to have the first African country to visit St. Kitts-Nevis, because that's huge. Well, that's kind of personal too, because my father is a Rastaman and able to connect with our roots for most of our citizens.
Yeah, so I'm in Bermuda, and St. Kitts-Nevis is small as far as the population. We always call it a blessing instead of a curse, because we can reach our players at any time. They can train more frequently. But we know the player pool and talent is not as large number-wise as the UK, United States, Mexico, or Canada. How are you going to work around a small group of players to make sure that they reach the maximum potential, with your coaching staff?
Well, I think that's ultimately it's gonna come down to the technical staff. So we're gonna ensure that we have the right personnel in place, so that way our technical department is working effectively. But I think going forward, we were blessed with a lot of talent. We have the natural ability, but I just think the continuous programs were lacking after, especially for the past 10, 12 years. I think the continuous programs were lacking, because I grew up in a system where we were training regularly, pretty much every day. We were training to ensure that we were prepared for professional tryouts or college opportunities. So we want to bring that back and ensure that we have many games, because the game is the best teacher. So we're gonna prepare ourselves, so our local players as well as our players out in the diaspora community are able to mesh well, build strong chemistry, so that way our national teams can be successful. If you look at the female side, you'll notice that many of our current crop at the senior level are based in the US and Canada. So in this case, I think we can have more camps within the US or Canada, so that way they can get more games in as well from that fund.
And we know in the small islands, it's always good to have a great relationship with government and the corporate sector, since the financing of the sports is not heavily driven like in the United States or Canada. How is your relationship with the government? It's always good to have the sports minister on your side. And are the businesses in St. Kitts and Nevis now saying, look, we have a former professional. If we give money to the association, we know it's definitely going to be spent well. How's that doing?
Well, I think even leading up to this campaign, I don't know if you know, but I recently became the brand ambassador for the St. Kitts-Nevis Anguilla National Bank. So that's something I'm going to try to use as well, and that they've already given verbal commitment to come back on board in terms of sponsorship there as well. The Breweries is another one who's given a verbal commitment. Everything doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary contribution. Or let's say in the case of the Breweries, I mean, they have various products where we can utilize and actually earn revenue for the SKNFA, and in return we can put it back into the football development. So those are avenues that we looking to explore. Also, with the relationship with the government, the Minister of Sports actually invited me to watch the CPL match, the Patriots. So then we had some discussion prior to this, and they were all positive. The permanent secretary within sports as well. She was the former principal of my primary school that I attended. So the relationship is there, and the fact that they congratulated us and they've been reaching out to us, that's a positive. So going forward, we're looking to have them on board, so that way they can assist us in any way we need, any way possible.
Okay, fantastic. And back to Vernon.
Back on Football Insight, if you're wondering what's happening, we're speaking to the newly elected president of the St. Kitts-Nevis Football Association, Atiba Harris, himself a former international and MLS player, Atiba facilities. The Skitts-Nevis Football Association has not been able to complete its goal project, which is its home in St. Peter's. How far off is that? And is that one of your number one priorities? Because the Warner Park football facility, which is owned by the government of Skitts-Nevis, has been taking a beating for a number of years. There's also been little talk about playing up at the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium. But in order to improve football, based on what's happening around the world with COVID, the governments are going to be short on cash to be able to establish a number of the community grounds. But if we don't have a football facility, all of what you're talking about in terms of sports tourism and bringing teams to St. Kitts-Nevis would almost be like a knockoff effect. It would be just like you're taking a plaster and just putting it on an old sore. How far off is the home of football in St. Peter's? And give me an update on that.
Well, first, I'll before I answer your question, I have to say that St. Kitts-Nevis is so blessed by having, I think, the most football fields per capita in the world. Because you notice in every community, we have at least 1 or 2 football fields, Mr. Springer. So that's a plus for us. Yes, the ownership, yes, lies within with the government. So having the technical center, I've been there every day, even since I came back. And once upon being elected, the very next day I went on site. They're currently working on the retaining wall, which should be completed. I think maybe by next weekend or so, they should have that retaining wall ready to go. In terms of the turf, they gave an estimate date on the turf and the lighting by the end of this year. The latest, January 31st, according to the contract agreement arrangement between IDEL and FIFA. So we're looking forward to having this facility up and running within 9 months or so. So hopefully this can happen fully ready to go within 9 months. So we're gonna push as much as possible, because that's within my home community as well. And I don't know if you know that our home community facility is next door. And I think that's a facility that we need to upgrade as well, and we'll be able to use it as a national facility given the close proximity to the technical center, so that way we can have 2 fields to utilize.
When your body is challenged, it burns fuel and energy. Respond to every challenge with Altitude Sports Drink. It replenishes, restores, and prepares you for the next level. Altitude is uniquely formulated with an electrolyte blend and magnesium available in fruit punch, blue frost, and grape. Altitude. Raise your game.
Dem Sports is an innovative sports equipment manufacturer specialising in the production of high-quality sports nets and cages for clubs, universities and schools. The development of a Dem Sports concertina cage, either as a single or double-width sports net, has helped schools in inner-city areas where space is a premium to include sports such as cricket and tennis in the curriculum in a safe and enjoyable way.
The nets were developed really for when we had schools with a problem space, so it could be used in limited areas. It folds back to the wall to a minimum of 515 millimetres and pulls out to 8 metres just over.
This sort of equipment is exactly the solution that many head teachers will look to use. It is space saving, it is easy to operate, it is relatively low cost, and again the impact of having provision within the school grounds is a real plus point.
Dem Sports are the world leaders in sports nets for schools. They have a range of net sizes to suit all spaces and can custom build whatever you require. For more information on how we can help you transform your play space at school safely, quickly and affordably, Contact Dem Sports for details.
Brilliant, brilliant. And when I say brilliant, I know that a number of past administrators' names will ring a bell. I don't want to tell you my opinion on whose name I think should go on that technical center, but that's for another discussion on another day. What I just want to maybe explore from you is what sort of relationship are you going to be establishing with the Nevis Island Administration government in terms of improving football on Nevis? Because they are two different islands and it's almost becomes cost effective. So if you can set up a satellite academy in Nevis, I think that tremendously would help with the football program in Nevis. Is that on your radar also?
Well, throughout the campaign, we express our interest in building football in Nevis. Whatever happened in St. Kitts should definitely be happening in Nevis because we're one federation. St. Kitts and Nevis is very unique in that aspect. I think the closeness of the islands, and I could actually feel like we can compete against each other in that sense when you got St. Kitts and you can have a strong Nevisian team. So, but we are one federation and we're looking to build together, work together to build football over there in Nevis, make it even stronger. Our relationship with the NIA, the Nevis Island Administration, is very positive. The Minister of Sport, Mr. Honorable Eric Evelyn, him and I have been having many discussions about doing some work over there, and showing that we have footballing facilities in Nevis that SKNFA could actually say, hey, we have full ownership or at least a long-term leasing agreement, so that way we don't have any clashes with any other sport, and we can work effectively to help develop football in the island of Nevis.
Mr. President, you sound like you've been in office like over a year. You're unleashing all these plans as if you knew the vision, but that's good. That's what visionary comes up with, is about being able to execute. Now, let's talk a little bit, and I want to give credit to Malcolm Ramsey, who has done an excellent job with the referees coming out of St. Kitts and Nevis, to the point now where St. Kitts and Nevis referees, when they're leaving in a pool, they're leaving in a batch. And that only used to happen with maybe Jamaica and maybe slightly Trinidad and Tobago. Those were the big countries. But now, when you look on the world stage, you can feel confident to know that referees are moving out from St. Kitts and Nevis. Talk to us about the continued growth of the referees program in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Well, like you said, I have to give a lot of credit to Mr. Malcolm Ramsey. He's been doing a tremendous job. I also want to give credit to all the officials who've dedicated their time, have committed their time to ensuring that they become the best referees they can be. And I think we should have a few going off, getting closer to getting their FIFA badges, and we're looking forward to that as well. So we'll work closely with Mr. Ramsey and the referee department, also the referee association, so that way we can have maybe work on elite academies, refereeing academies, because we know even though a lot of people want to be in football, not all of them gonna want to be players. So we want to give them that other avenue, which is refereeing, that has been doing well for us and putting us on the world stage. Some of our officials have been to officiating some major matches within CONCACAF. So we want one day to hopefully see a full St. Kitts and Nevis official slate at the World Cup, maybe even all four at the World Cup finals.
Now, one can't go forward without clubs. And past administrators, I feel, because I was also part of the football administration under R.A. Peter Jenkins. And I don't think during that tenure that we did a good job in empowering clubs. This is something Cal and myself were speaking with Lenny Taylor this morning. How do we plan to improve the club structure? Because we are short on human resources in terms of administrators. And so in the communities, yes, you have clubs that are formed, but sometimes they're just run by one or two personnel. And so they end up becoming teams. And I always thought that they were used as guinea pigs, as I would say. They were only used for votes. You have now taken a different mantra. You've come in and you have decided that whether you voted for me or not, the purpose is about serving Skitts-Nevis football. In a short spectrum, what is your vision for the clubs in Skitts-Nevis?
Well, we want to ensure that we have strong clubs, because without strong clubs, the Skitts-Nevis Football Association will become weaker. We don't want to be seen as a body who's coming in and dictating. We want to ensure that the clubs are empowered, so that way they don't just. I mean, when a child turns 18, you're looking forward for that child to leave home and become independent. And we want all clubs to become independent and not just lean on the Skitts-Nevis Football Association for everything. So we're gonna put club development officers in place, so that way they can go around and guide the clubs in every aspect, because the structure within many of our clubs are in need of extreme attention. They need a lot of attention, because like you said, a lot of them are run by one or two personnel who are taking up their time. They have to work after work. The president is the coach. The president also a player. The president is the accountant. And we have to ensure that these things we adjust these things, so that way the clubs can work effectively. I don't know if it's a matter of the number of clubs, but I think definitely the lack of human resources, that are volunteers who has been not willing to give their time to push their clubs in their various communities. So we're going to try to reach out and ensure that these clubs have the right people, so that way we can move forward.
Mr. President, I want to put another mantra under your leadership, and to ask you as president of the Skitts-Nevis Football Association for Skitts-Nevis to lead and to have a revival of the Leeward Islands Football Championship, which gave small countries like Anguilla, Montserrat, British Virgin Islands, US Virgin Islands, St. Martin, and even though Skitts-Nevis and Antigua and Barbuda would have dominated that Leeward Islands competition, it sort of gave a nucleus of those young territories an opportunity to showcase their skills. Because as you rightly said, if it's not everybody's going to make it to the national senior team, but if you have a Leeward Islands football tournament, that could ignite some of the young players who are playing in the local league to be able to say, hey, I'm going to get a chance to play for Skitts-Nevis, or Nevis is going to play on their own, Skitts is going to play on their own, just like it used to happen before. But it would also be able to gauge where the local and the club talent is. So even if you have an overseas technical director or overseas coach, and he comes and he looks at the Leeward Islands football, he'll see the local players on show. I'm saying this to you, and whatever I can do within my capacity to be able to help you organize that aspect, I think we have to revive the Leeward Islands Football Championship, maybe in 2023, so it'll give you enough time to be able to plan it once we can be able to kick COVID out of the Caribbean.
Yes, that's definitely on the campaign trail. That's something we were pushing as well, because we do feel, since Skitts-Nevis, two different islands, I think we haven't been able to unlock our true potential as yet. And I think by having our local based players who are playing within the local leagues, playing in these tournaments, this specific tournament, the Leeward Island tournament, would go a long way. Because if we have St. Kitts playing, representing St. Kitts, Nevis representing Nevis, now we have more additional team within the Leeward Island tournament, not just at the senior men's level, but the female level as well, and also youth championship within the Leeward Island. And I've spoken to a number of the presidents as well, and they love the idea. A couple of them said, well, you know, St. Kitts and Nevis and Antigua and Barbuda are the leaders within this region. So they're looking forward for us to lead, and I think that's something we're definitely willing to take up.
And then I think what also can motivate the process too would be having the champion from the Leewards play against the champions from the Windward Islands. So you remember, I think the last time they had that OECS championship, St. Kitts-Nevis was crowned that champion. You got a whole big development of football in the OECS, you know, between Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Dominica. So it's something where the players can look up to, and we could be able to fit that into our calendar. So we have a lot of work to do, and I will be more than committed over maybe the next 18 months to be able to try to see, Mr. President, if I could be on a steering committee to be able to help to sort that out, because I think that is one of the things which have affected youth sports in the OECS by not having that championship. But we got a lot of things on our plate. We still have COVID to deal with. Mr. President, your final words as we close out here on Football Insight. I think this is just the first of many interviews that we're going to be speaking to you about. It's also Independence Time in St. Kitts-Nevis. And so that is why it's also important for us to be launching both these programs during Independence Time. It's just a way of me giving back, along with Cal Blankendal and all of my other business partners who have made this possible. Your independence message to St. Kitts-Nevis.
Well, first, I want to thank you for having me on your show, Football Insight. It's a pleasure to be here on the show. Happy Independence Day to St. Kitts-Nevis. Looking forward to doing great things. And I know St. Kitts-Nevis, all the citizens in St. Kitts-Nevis, both home and abroad, are very proud of our country. And I'm looking forward to our executive and the football fraternity within St. Kitts-Nevis to raise the standard and make everyone proud, so that way we can fulfill our true potential and be the best we can be.
Well, Cal, I know you're not from St. Kitts-Nevis, but you have some roots. So I give you the chance, my brother, to close out this special program with a special gentleman, somebody who I feel very honored, Cal, that by the time next 20 years, 25 years, when I'm in my rocking chair with my nieces and my nephews, that I can be able to say, well, I was part of Atiba Harris's journey from a player to an administrator, and hopefully onto greater things.
Well, to President Harris, I just want to say congratulations. It's been a very enlightening interview to find out where you came from and your passion, and that you want to give back to your country. But I want to let you know, in Little Bermuda, there's a great diaspora of persons from St. Kitts-Nevis. And my grandfather, my mom was adopted by a gentleman, Mr. James Henry, who was from Nevis. And I've never visited, but I will definitely visit now, since I think I have an associate on the other end. But there are a number of persons in Bermuda who migrated from St. Kitts-Nevis to Bermuda. So if you ever need any assistance, I'm quite certain they are very proud when they look at this platform and show, and they'll be willing to assist and give back financially or supportive-wise. So like you said, there could be products or networks that they can give to you. I wish you all the best. Happy Independence Day to you and the country of St. Kitts-Nevis. And remember, you have a lot of friends on this side of the world. So if you need us, we will be there. And I'm going to join my good friend, Mr. Springer. If he has a steering committee, he can come to me to do whatever I can in the background for my grandfather who took care of my mother. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Happy Independence to St. Kitts-Nevis, and congratulations, Mr. President. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Thank you.
When your body is challenged, it burns fuel and energy. Respond to every challenge with Altitude Sports Drink. It replenishes, restores, and prepares you for the next level. Altitude is uniquely formulated with an electrolyte blend and magnesium available in fruit punch, blue frost, and grape. Altitude. Raise your game.
Dem Sports is an innovative sports equipment manufacturer specialising in the production of high-quality sports nets and cages for clubs, universities and schools. The development of a DEM Sports concertina cage, either as a single or double width sports net, has helped schools in inner city areas where space is a premium to include sports such as cricket and tennis in their curriculum in a safe and enjoyable way.
The nets were developed really for when we had schools with a problem space, so it could be used in limited areas. It folds back to the wall to a minimum of 515 millimetres and pulls out to 8 metres just over.
This sort of equipment is exactly the solution that many head teachers will look to use. It is space saving, it is easy to operate, it is relatively low cost, and again the impact of having provision within the school grounds is a real plus point.
DEM Sports are the world leaders in sports nets for schools. They have a range of net sizes to suit all spaces and can custom build whatever you require. For more information on how we can help you transform your play space at school safely, quickly and affordably, contact DEM Sports for details.